Welcome to the Cozy Explanation, where curiosity meets calm. Tonight, I am your host. We will be taking a walk together through Copenhagen on an October evening. It's 7:30 p.m. on a Thursday, mid-October. The sun set hours ago, around 5:30, and the sky has deepened to that velvety charcoal that follows the blue hour. We're standing at the memorial anchor, Minnearket in Danish, at the very end of Nyhavn Canal, where it meets the open harbour. The air is crisp, around 8 degrees Celsius, carrying the brackish scent of salt water and damp wood. The city glows with warm amber light, like it's lit by thousands of candles. Close your eyes. Walk with me through Copenhagen. We turn our backs to the harbour and walk inland along the cobblestones. These are the famous rounded stones, brosten in Danish, and even beneath our feet, worn smooth by 3 centuries of sailors, merchants, and poets. Ahead, the colourful buildings of Nyhavn rise on both sides of the canal. Even in darkness, they glow. Buttercup yellow, indigo, rust orange, cream, rose pink. The facades are timber, brick, and plaster, dating back to the 1680s. The canal was built between 1670 and 1675, dug by Swedish prisoners of war under King Christian V. For centuries, it was a rowdy sailors' quarter, notorious for beer, brawls, and prostitution. Now it's something else entirely. Gentrified, romantic, glowing. The water beside us is perfectly still, black as glass. It acts as a mirror, catching every light and doubling it. The colourful facades dance on the surface in wavering streaks of red, yellow, and orange. We pass number 9 on our right, the oldest building here, built in 1681. It's quiet and assuming, a survivor. Across the canal, moored against the stone quay, wooden ships rest in shadow. At far end, the lightly vessel 17 Gedserev, vivid matte red, built in 1895, sits heavy in the water. Its light tower rises like a blocky silhouette against the violet sky. Closer to us, the museum ships, galleasses and schooners, their masts creating a forest of vertical lines piercing the darkness. The sails are furled, rolled into pale canvas, bundles along the booms. Listen, there's a sound, a rhythmic clinking. The halyards, the ropes that run alongside the masts, tap against the hollow wood in the breeze. Tink, tink, tink. Metal clips on wooden masts. The clock of the harbour. And beneath that, the gentle lap of water against the hulls. Slap, slap. The low creak of wood shifting against the dock. We pass number 20, a red house. Hans Christian Andersen lived here in 1834. He was 30 years old and finally finding his voice. In this building he wrote his first fairy tales, The Tinderbox, Little Klaus and Big Klaus, The Princess and the Pea. Further along, at number 67, he would live for 20 years, from 1848 to 1865, on what they called the sunny side, watching ships come and go from his window, gathering stories. Let's stop here for a moment. Notice how the water catches and doubles every light. The restaurant windows on the northern side glow golden. Heat lamps, candlelight, the warm amber of old-style bulbs. You can see dinners inside, moving, talking. The Danes have a word for this feeling. Hygge. It's more than cozy. It's safe, warm, togetherness, creating light and warmth against the Nordic dark. From somewhere nearby comes the heavy, savory smell of frikadeller, Danish meatballs, pork and onions frying in butter. And beneath that, just beginning, the first faint hints of something sweeter. Cloves and cinnamon, glögg, mulled wine. Winter is coming. We continue walking inland, the cobblestones uneven, each step slightly different from the last. We reach the end of the canal and step onto Kongens Nytorv, the King's New Square. The transition is immediate. The ground changes beneath our feet. The rough harbour cobbles give way to smoother paving stones, chaussee stone, laid in the 1670s and renovated but still original in spirit. The square is vast, 20,000 square meters, the largest in Copenhagen, twice the size of City Hall Square, and after the intimate canal, it feels enormous. And the wind from the harbour hits us full force here. No buildings to shelter us. The temperature, already cool at 8 degrees, feels colder. The air cuts through our layers. This is the most exposed point of our walk, the coldest. To our left, massive and dark, Charlottenborg Palace looms. Dutch Baroque, built in 1672, reddish-brown brick. To our right, circling the perimeter of the square, traffic moves in a steady stream. We hear the whir of tires on wet cobblestones. The constant dig of bicycle bells. White lights in front, red lights behind. Bobbing steady. Copenhagen is a city of bikes, not cars. 55% of residents commute by bicycle, even on nights like this. We cannot walk straight across. In the center of the square, inside a ring of 80 lime trees, there's a formal garden, the Krinsen. We must curve around it as we walk. Our footsteps change from the hollow sound of cobbles to the crunch of gravel. Inside the ring of trees stands the equestrian statue of King Christian V, cast in bronze in 1688, the oldest in Scandinavia. The king sits as a Roman emperor. At the base, trampled beneath the horse's hooves, are the figures of envy and deceit. The center of the Krinsen offers a strange void of quiet. The city hum feels distant here. Sounds dissipates upward into the cold October air. There's no echo. Everything feels thin, directional. The wind creates a constant white noise in our ears. Ahead, the buildings of the square's far sides glow. The Hotel de Angleterre, white, neoclassical, 1755, acts as a massive lantern. Its facade is soft lit, warm. To the left, Magazine du Nord, department store, French Renaissance, 1893. Its windows dynamically lit. And directly ahead, the old kiosk, a small Baroque revival pavilion from 1913, copper-roofed, hand-carved, the city's first public telephone stands. Now it serves coffee. Relief comes as we reach it and duck into the entrance of Strøget. Suddenly the wind dies. The building rises on both sides, creating a canyon that blocks the harbor breeze. We're on Strøget now, specifically the Ostergade section, 1.1 kilometers long, Europe's longest pedestrian street. It was pedestrianized on November the 17th, 1962, a controversial experiment that critics said would never work. Danes are not Italians, they said. They won't use outdoor public spaces. They were wrong. The street is lined with shops. Even those most closed an hour ago at 6 or 7, the windows remain lit. We pass Georg Jensen, Danish silver gleaming behind glass, polished pitchers and bowls arranged on individual pedestals, minimalist, theatrical lighting creating plays of light and shadow. Royal Copenhagen porcelain, the blue fluted pattern, the Flora Danica collection, with its gilded edges and intricate botanical illustrations. Deep cobalt blue on pure white, glowing under the warm lights. The street surface beneath us is smooth flagstones down the center, designed for comfortable walking, flanked by rougher cobblestones on the sides. Our footsteps sound different here, a quieter clack on the smooth store. Above us, the lights appear to float. They're suspended on wires strung between the buildings. Catenary lighting. No lampposts cluttering the narrow streets. Just warm amber lanterns hanging in space, casting pools of light onto the wet stones below. There are people here. Not the daytime crowds, those are gone, but couples walking arm in arm, a group of friends heading to late dinner, Danes finishing work, beginning their evening. The custom of aftonkaffe, evening coffee, means cafes stay busy until 10 or later. Danes are the 7th biggest coffee consumers in the world, and they don't observe caffeine curfews. The sound around us is a wall of human activity, thousands of footsteps, a polyphony of languages, tourists and locals mixed. Conversation requires focus but not shouting. The tall buildings on both sides create a canyon effect, trapping sound, making it feel louder and more enclosed than the open square we just crossed. We reach Nytorv, a square that opens in the middle of Strøget. In the center, the stork fountain splashes. People sit on the rim, even in October, bundled in coats. The square's floor is striking geometric patterns in granite, designed by Björn Norgård. And suddenly, a smell. Sweet, intense, unmistakable. Burnt sugar. Bränte mandlar. To our left, a street vendor stir almonds in a copper cauldron. The sugar coating turns from rough crystals to glossy caramel as it heats. The steam rises into the cold air, carrying that distinctive scent, caramelizing sugar with a hint of char. A seasonal treat, particularly noticeable as the weather turns cold. It's the quintessential Copenhagen autumn smell, and it fills this corner of the square completely. We pause, breathe it in. Around us, the city continues its evening rhythm. The fountain splashes, the vendor stirs, a bike bell rings, someone laughs. We continue through the square past the burnt sugar cart, moving deeper into the city. The buildings here mix periods. Late 19th century, early 20th, rebuilt after the great fires of 1728 and 1795. 4 and 5 stories tall, human scale, red brick, painted plaster, gabled roofs. The shop windows fade behind us. The crowd thins slightly. We're moving toward the round tower area, toward older streets, toward the academic heart. We turn a corner off Strøget. The transition is instant. One moment we're on wide retail streets, the next we've slipped into a narrow, twisting grid of the Latin Quarter, Latinikvarteret. The change is immediate, profound. The streets narrow, buildings crowd close to both sides. We're on Skindergade now, moving towards Sankt Petersstræde, Lars Björnstræde. The medieval layout has been preserved here for centuries. These are the oldest walking routes in Copenhagen. And the lighting changes. Almost no lamp posts clutter the sidewalks here. Instead, the warm LED lanterns are suspended on wires between buildings. The same catenary lighting we saw on Strøget. But here it feels even more intimate. The lights appear to float in the center of the dark street channel, casting a warm amber pool directly onto the cobblestones. The upper facades remain in shadow. It creates depth, mystery. The buildings on both sides are what Danes called ildebrandshus, firehouses. They were built rapidly after the Great Fire of 1728, when much of the medieval Copenhagen burnt. They're painted in bright, warm colors, deep ochre, burnt orange, sunny yellow. These colors were chosen deliberately to boost morale after the disaster, to create visibility and cheer in the darkness. 300 years later, they're still doing that exact job. The cobblestones here are older, more uneven than anywhere we've walked so far. Each stone is slightly different, rounded and worn. We must slow our pace, walk mindfully, feel each step. The dominant sound now is our own footsteps. The city roar has dropped to a murmur. Our boots make a hollow clack-clack on the stone. The sound echoes slightly off the narrow walls. From somewhere, a basement door slightly ajar, comes the low, muffled thrum of jazz music. Copenhagen has a long jazz tradition, and the Latin Quarter is its heart. Students gather in basement clubs, small venues barely marked, where music happens late. We cross Fjulstad, a narrow pedestrian street famous for its antiquarian bookshops. The smell hits us immediately. Old paper, dust, that distinctive, musty quality of books that have sat on shelves for decades. The shops are closed, but their windows display rare volumes, leather-bound, gilt-edged. Mixed with book smell, the sharp, clean aroma of espresso. A coffee nearby, still open. Through its window we can see students at small tables studying by candlelight. Aftenkaffe, evening coffee, even at 8:30. There's no rushing. They'll be here for hours. This is the academic heart of Copenhagen. The university was found here in 1479, 546 years ago. Latin was spoken by scholars and students, the lingua franca of medieval academia. That's where the quarter gets its name. For centuries, this was the learned Republic of Denmark, a place of study, debate, printing, and ideas. It was also historically rowdy. The quarter's old nickname was Pisserenden, the piss gutter, from the smells of cattle, distilleries, and student debauchery. It was poor, intellectual, and Celtic. Now it's gentrified but has retained character. Second-hand bookshops, vintage boutiques, small galleries, the bohemian and academic mixed. The buildings lean slightly, settled over centuries. The footprint is medieval, but the structures are mostly 18th century, rebuilt after fire. Gabled roofs with wall dormers, gables that rise flush with the facade to maximize attic space. Low windows, semi-basement shops. The cobblestones force us to keep walking slowly, mindfully. Each step slightly different. The stones have been here since 1500s in some places. We're walking on history itself. The narrow streets create a particular acoustic. Sound doesn't escape, it channels. A single conversation 4 floors up would be clearly audible down here. But right now, at this hour, there's very little sound. Just us, just the stones, just the distant jazz bands fading as we move deeper. We slow down now. There's no rush. Very few people walk these streets at this hour. The Latin Quarter, after 8 in the evening, becomes meditative. We notice details. A vintage shop window displayed lace. The warm glow of a single candle on a windowsill. Architectural elements. Sandstone window frames, hand-carved door lintels, the slight bulge in a wall where timber framing was shifted over 300 years. The temperature has dropped. It's 6 degrees Celsius now. We can feel it nipping at our nose, our fingertips. But we're surrounded by warmth. The glow from windows, the amber light from the floating lanterns above. The Danes have another word, trygg. It means safe. But more than that, it's a profound sense of security, of being protected, of trust. Walking alone in these narrow, dark streets, we feel it completely. Trygghet. We're alone, but not lonely. The city feels safe. The lights in the windows, the well-maintained streets, the social trust that permeates Danish culture. All of it creates this feeling. We hear our own breathing, the rhythm of our footsteps. Occasionally, a bike passes, the mechanical whir of the freewheel, the soft ding of a bell, but mostly quiet. The stones beneath our feet are the same stones scholars walked in the 1500s. History isn't a museum here, it's a lived reality. The medieval layout preserved, the academic tradition continuing. We're walking through centuries. We emerge from the tight web of streets into Frue Plads, Our Lady Square. The transition is like taking a breath, expansive, open, silent. To our right, the University of Copenhagen's main building, red blick, glows faintly. To our left, the massive silhouette of Vor Frue Kirke, the Church of Our Lady, Copenhagen's cathedral. The current building was rebuilt in 1829, designed by C.F. Hansen in stark neoclassical style. The previous church was destroyed in the British bombardment of 1807. What rose from those ashes was simpler, stronger. White columns gleam in the darkness. This is the academic and spiritual heart of Denmark, where the university meets the church, where learning and prayer have coexisted for 500 years. The silence here is profound. The bike bells and harbor chatter of Nyhavn feel miles away, though we've only walked 20 minutes. The square creates its own atmosphere, a kind of sacred quiet, even for those who aren't religious. And then, from the distance, the deep resonant chime of City Hall bells, marking the hour. The sound rolls over the rooftops of the city. We don't just hear it, we feel it, a low vibration in the chest. We're standing where countless scholars have stood. The learned republic, the stones remember. Yellow firehouses line the square. Those same bright walls from 1728 still standing, still defiant against the dark. Our journey is complete. From the open harbor, through the King's City, down the commercial street, into the medieval quarter, and finally here, the layers of Copenhagen revealed. Commerce and power and learning and spirit. Candles burning lower, bikes being put away, the day releasing its hold. Our walk ends here, but you can return anytime in your mind to these amber-lit streets. Next week, we'll explore something new together. Until then, sleep well. Thank you for walking with me through Copenhagen.